Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast channel. This is Karupi, and for this episode, I think this will be a controversial and sensitive episode. So, I would like to ask everyone to be, for those who wants to comment, I just want you to be more respectful in commenting, and also be to widen your horizon or your perspective or your thoughts. At the same time, your critical thinking, try to also consider, think of what I will say here in this podcast, ganon. And also, if you can also hear me out, yes. That's why I will keep the comment section open, because I will also I want to hear you out as well, your opinion on this one, because wala namang perfect na talagang perfect side on this one, but it will just be my personal take and my personal opinion about this thing. So ayun. So you probably already saw the title of this episode. So ayun na nga. But before we start, I would like to shout out muna my sponsor for this episode. Wow. Well, not this episode. My sponsor for this microphone. This one is from Mommy, or from Miss Anjo. I think you saw her sa isang episode ko. So far, isa pa lang yung episode ko na anong tawag nun, na meron akong kasama. Siya yung nagbigay sa akin nito. So, thank you so much for this microphone. This is a table microphone for podcasting or for streaming, or maybe for, if you just want to have a better microphone when you talk to your clients or to your meetings, So this one is very nice. Okay, so let's start now with our topic. So when I was scrolling sa TikTok, may nakita ko nagbardagulan. There was this pero hindi ko na sila papangalanan. They are not relevant sa episode nito. So we will just keep them there, and I will just take kung ano yung sinabi ng isa about exposure of children. So children's exposure to the LGBT world, ganon. So this is more of towards the parents. So ayun, well, I'm part of the LGBT community, and wala din akong anak, right? I know that there are some LGBTs or LGBT members na mayroong mga anak, so they can probably have a better insight on this one, because they are dealing it hands-on, right? But in my case, it's more of like a logical siguro na side, like, the easier said than done thing. So yun, if someone were gonna make a comment about like that, so I agree that my opinion here may be an easier said than done. So maybe in reality it will be very different or maybe difficult. So I'll just leave your comment there kung ano yung personal experience mo about it. Ayun, so the question here is, I have two questions. So the first question is, as a parent, would you let your child consume LGBT contents like movies, series, or social media content like on TikTok or Instagram Reels, mga ganon, or any exposure towards the LGBT world? And then the second question is, would you encourage your child to explore the LGBT world? Yan. So medyo hot topic siya to some, especially for the straight people also, because they have different takes on it. And then we also acknowledge na mayroong mga homophobic and all, also conservative. They tag themselves as conservative, or maybe, masyadong religious, or, people like that. So I understand na they will have a different comment about on this one. But on this episode, syempre ako yung host. So ako yung bida. I mean, it's still open for discussion. So just put your side on the comment section if you have your own. I will read it naman, because yun nga, I asked you earlier to hear me out. So if you are going to put something there in the comment section, I will also read it and then contemplate as well. Kasi baka tama din naman talaga kayo, right? Okay, sana nag-end na yung ilaw ko. So wala tayong choice. But ayun. So yung take ko niyan is, if I were a parent, if I were a parent, siguro siguro pag childhood pa niya, like bata pa siya, like siguro sa mga 5 years old to 12 years old, or maybe 13, pero siguro 12 hanggang 5 or 4 to 12 years old. Personally, ayoko siyang i-expose sa LGBT world, because I want my child, if ever, or my children to be a child, to be a kid, na wala silang iisipin na this is bastos or this is parang inappropriate for their gender. Parang ganon, right? If parang dapat walang mali siya sa kanila yon. So I will allow them whatever they want. If they ask me, for example, to buy them a Barbie doll, then I will buy them Barbie doll. If for example, a boy, not child, and then they ask me to buy a Barbie doll, a dollhouse, or whatever, then if that's what he wants during those years, then I will also buy it, right? But of course, I will also buy the other, like maybe like those manly stuff or boyish stuff, like cars, mga guns, mga ganon. Just to balance out. Kasi during those age, sa bata siguro, I think it's more of the start na kanyang exploration about himself, kung ano ba talaga yung gusto niya. Kasi nandun part na yun, niya makikilala yung sarili niya eh. It may not be clear for the child yet, pero slowly nandun nag-ano yun eh. Right? And then, of course, di ba, pag bata ka, syempre may mga Barbie, mga gano'n, na mga shows. Then, siguro, I will just limit lang sa I will limit the exposure towards that one, but more on educational na mga content, like series, movies, or whatever. Mga educational, more on scientific, mga ganon. Not the Disney thing, mga ganon. Siguro yung Disney, yung bagong Disney yon, yung it's all about family, about self thing, mga ganon, or friendship, mga ganon. Siguro I will expose my child to that, but not to the old version ng Disney, yung mga princess, mga Cinderella, mga ganon. Wala muna yon. Later on, siguro mga around 10 or 12 po na sila i-expose sa ganong klaseng content, just to prepare na din sa school nila, right, when they reach those things. I mean, those age na they have to have knowledge about those basic or mga common na mga Disney movies or contents, para they can really explore themselves on their own ba, kung ano talagang gusto nila. Kasi pero ako naman, during that time siguro, I will be more observant, kasi I cannot ask pa kung ano talagang gusto nila eh. Kung bading basta, hindi ko sila pwedeng i-judge sa ganun pa, kasi it will change pa later on eh. Parang there's a chance na it will change pa later on, right? Especially continuous yung learning niya. So I will just support kung ano yung gusto niya. So kung gusto niya ng baril-barilan, then I will buy a baril-barilan. I will play with him with that one. Kung gusto naman niya ng dollhouse, kitchen, yung sa mga kids, yung parang kitchen something or whatever, if I can afford, then I will also buy those toys and also play with him or her, right? It's important that you have to play with your kids as well, kasi that will that will give them the impression na you are supportive sa kanila and you support whatever they're doing. Parang ganon. And of course, at that point also, ipakita mo na rin na you are guiding them. You're starting to guide them. You're starting to parang practice them na you are there to guide. Ganon. Now, pagka pre-teens naman nila, so ito na yung part where parang ano na sila, papuntang teenage, right? Teenage years, ganon. So, sa panahon na yan is you will slowly nga, yung sinabi ko, you will slowly na exposing them sa mga things na like yung sa Cinderella, mga Snow White, yung mga ganong mga love story-ish kind of content na in a cartoon kind of thing. Parang meron ng emotional kineso. Pero if you notice sa Cinderella, sa Snow White, or sa mga old Disney movies, yung mga classic, is parang, you know, they are geared towards relationship, like romantic relationship, right? So since teenager na, so it's mayroon na rin silang parang ganon, right? Later in their life, later in the teenage years, magkaka-crush na yan, ganyan. So at least may awareness sila na, okay, that yung siguro na yung crush or yung magkaganon, magkaroon ng feelings toward others is normal because of that exposure. And then during that time na rin, I will slowly introduce na din, or parang let them be aware that there is a different type of people, na yun nga, LGBT people, that exist in the real world. So they probably are already exposed to that kasi syempre nag-aaral sila, right? So some, of course, hindi naman lahat ng parents will be the same as me, right? So probably, or maybe other kids already are aware, or parang they know themselves na in an early stage, right? Na they are not straight, ganon. But in the preteens, more on, you will now formally introduce them na merong ganong mga tao. And then, you just have to parang emphasize doon during those times na you have to be respectful also to those people. Not just to this kind of people, LGBT, but maybe to other minorities, right? Hindi lang sa ganon. Other minorities, you have to respect. You need to be respectful. Ganon. And try to parang acknowledge and parang anong tawag nun? Parang you're respectful, parang ask them to be more respectful, guide them, or and acknowledging these minorities. At the same time, parang start to encourage them to be more open sa mga nangyayari sa kanila. I mean, not sa kanila as a kid, but those people, kung ano yung stories nila, right? Because they have different stories. And my children may have also different stories, right? Maaaring hindi ko na alam because it could be na na-experience na rin sa school, ganyan, or sa other things, right? But at least during preteens, you will introduce na those kind of people exist. Or if ever, not necessarily preteens, actually, it's more of, kung for example, nasa mga 8 years old, or 7 years old maybe, pag nagtanong na sila ng mga ganon, you will slowly introduce na okay, there are people na ganon and you have to be respectful para hindi sila maging bully na person, and they know ano yung difference, right? And during that time, kung maaga silang na-expose or maaga silang nagtanong about it, and not necessarily preteens, pero pag nagtanong na, so that is also where you are going to, to start introducing pero not encouraging pa. And then during those years din nila, preteens, or pag nagtanong na sila, beside from giving them guidance na to be respectful sa mga ganong, sa minorities or sa mga tao na member ng ganon na minorities, also ask them kung meron ba silang similar feelings or similar, or parang they see by themselves to be part of those minorities. No, so not just LGBT. Maaaring, I don't know, whatever minorities pa. Pero in this podcast, let's just focus on the LGBT. So sa mga LGBT na minorities or sa minority na LGBT. So ask them kung they feel ba na they are parang they are one of them, parang ganon. And then pero ask it in a, you know, in a way na hindi mo siya parang sinishame, parang ganon. Ask them kung ano ba talaga, anong nakikita, ano bang tingin niya doon, at do you find, or do they find themselves to be one of them, parang ganon. And then, you know, whatever their answers, be respectful also sa kung anong sagot nila. And then you will not say anything na parang na you are against. Parang okay, you will just accept it, parang ganon. But in your mind, parang it's more of like hindi ko muna siya i-take as like the final, kasi preteens pa yan eh, or nasa 8 years old, 9 years old, right? So parang okay, pero parang iti-take note mo lang siya na okay, parang nasabi niya yon. Kasi it could be na-expose siya sa friends niya doon sa school or something like that. And at the same time na din, during those preteens, so yung mga gano'n na, siguro ang appropriate lang siguro na age is like 11 or maybe 10, 11. Kung masyadong maaga silang na-learn about it, ito na rin yung time na we are going to inform them na mayroong mga, you know, mga abuse, mga malicious people then, not just on these minorities but also to the majorities, like the straight people, right? Inform them na may mga ganong tao, inform them kung ano yung difference ng normal at hindi normal na ginagawa, ganon, para they're aware na okay, this one is not okay, this is bastos, or parang ganon, right? So they have awareness na, and anong mang gagawin kapag nangyari yon. So parang you're going to, you know, ihanda mo na sila sa hamon ng buhay. Wow. Yon, ihanda mo na sila sa mga ganun, para kasi pag teenage na, tendency kasi ng mga teenagers, they want na to have their own decision. Alam mo yon. So that's why pag teenager, medyo rebellious na sila, ganon, because they want not to exercise their autonomy, ganon. Dating ng teenage years, so syempre pag preteen pa is parang hindi pa siya masyado talagang parang sure. It could be na parang hindi naman dad, parang ganon, or hindi naman ganon yung tingin ko sa sarili ko. And then let them still, you know, explore themselves, and then just make sure na you assure them na you will always be supportive sa kanila, whatever their decisions, you will always be supportive, ganyan. And then pag dating ng teenage years nila, so yun na yung part where you can ask them again, siguro pagdating ng 14, 15 years old, ask them again kung ganun pa rin ba, or ganun pa rin ba yung tingin niya sa sarili niya, like if he or she still see herself na ganun, or nag-iba na ba, alam mo yun. And this is also the time where you can ask kung may crush pa siya, ganyan, because you know, hindi lang naman kasi sagot niya yung parang final. Of course you have to observe all the other stuff sa buhay niya, right? Pero hindi man masyadong sneaky. Just observe lang, tapos tanong. Be respectful pa din sa anak mo, kasi syempre especially pag teenage na. So I mean, you will still have to be respectful even if bata yan, right? Kung ano yung decision niya, ganyan. Though medyo you know, the decision still is on you pag nasa bata pa, pero pag teenage na, medyo hayaan mo na siyang i-exercise yung decision making niya. So ayun, so ipaunawa mo lang sa kanya na you will always be there to guide him or her kung ano yung decision niya sa buhay. Kung meron siyang mga tanong, para sabihin mo na you are also there if you need some not just guidance, no, but companion, kung paano niya yun i-explore. Alam mo yun. Kasi it's better kung nandun kayo as a guardian. Alam mo yun, yung parang as a guidance, parang ganun. So, at least, na safe yung ginagawa niya. Alam mo yun. Tapos, ayun. And then, yun na yun din yung time na you have to introduce. I'm pretty sure na meron na silang during those age, meron na yung basic na nalalaman about sexuality, about mga gawain ganon. So, i-encourage mo lang na you are there to support, and then, being, kung ano yung mga gagawin, for some, it may be controversial, it may be medyo nahihiya ka, but you have to, as a parent, you have to face it. Hindi ka dapat mahiya sa sarili mo anak, right? You need to be clear sa mga sasabihin mo. Hindi mo na siya i-mask yung mga organs to a different code names, ganon. You will address the organs kung ano yung pangalan nila, ganon. Kung ano yung pangalan na scientifically, and kung anong pinangalan ng community. Alam mo yun, para aware sila kung ano yung sinasabi nila or sinasabi ng ibang tao, 'di ba? And aware sila kung paano yun alagaan and paano yun nila i-handle, kasi magiging buhay na nila yun, right? Later on, wala ka na doon pag once they pass their teenage years, right? Pag naging adult na yan sila, 90 to 100% is ng decision making nila is sa kanila na. Wala ka na doon. So while you are still at least meron ka pang 20 to 30% na contribution sa decision making nila, is at least you guide them very well. Alam mo yun. So ayun, yun pag teenage years, yun yung gagawin mo. So kung naisip nila na okay, I'm probably gay or lesbian, ganon. So yun. So you just have to accept it. And the thing nun kasi, yung ganong process kasi, hindi kasi siya, tatanungin mo lang siya pag teenager na, ganyan. Nagsisimula kasi yan sa bata, right? Up until nag-teenager. Mas naging lang sa during teenager, mas naging parang, mas clearer and mas confusing, ganon. Pero I think it starts talaga sa bata. Alam na nila kung ano sila. Probably, they are not just aware of the naming or the labeling na ginawa ng mundo. Pero sa kanila, internally, they are probably aware somehow. They are not just, hindi lang siya ganun paka-clear when they were kids. Diba? So, ganun. But, pag teenager na, maging mas confusing, but that's why you are there as a parent, to guide and to give them advice in a neutral manner. Hindi yung biased. Gusto mo siya maging straight, so bibigyan mo siya ng advice na para maging straight. Dapat neutral. Ipakita mo sa kanya yung both sides, na ito yung ginagawa ng LGBT, for example. Ito naman ginagawa ng straight, ito yung pros, ito yung cons. If you meron na siyang decision actually at that point somehow. Meron na siyang awareness about himself. So, sabihin mo lang ito yung pros, ito yung cons. So, para alam niya kung ano yung pinasok niya. Alam mo yun? I don't know if pinasok is the right term. I mean, hindi naman kasi, for me as a member of LGBT, hindi kasi namin din ginusto na maging ganito, right? So, it's just, this is us, parang ganun. So, hindi siya pinasok, pero it is what it is na, di ba? So, para ang gusto ko na sabihin doon is, para aware yung kid, or yung bata, or yung anak mo, kung ano yung mga possible na mangyari, right? na negatively. Para he expects or she expects that already, and she or he can decide kung paano niya yun atakihin, right? At least aware na siya. Hindi siya parang masusurprise na lang in the future na, mayroon palang ganito, ganyan. Or parang hindi pala pwede magkaanak, ganyan. Or mga ganito. Or for example, if hindi supportive ang government, hindi pala pwede magkasal, hindi pala pwede, may mga ganitong problem pala, ganyan, right? So at least alam na niya, bata pa lang siya, alam na niya na, okay, di ba? And ako naman personally, kahit teenager pa, kahit for example, sinabi niya, okay, bading daw siya noong teenager, hindi ko pa rin siya take as 100% kasi teenager pa siya. Alam mo yun? Hindi naman siya nag-hope, but it's more of, I will still give my child the room to really explore himself kung ano talaga. Kasi sabihin niya when teenager siya, sabihin niya bakla siya. Pero later on pala bisexual pala siya. Right? So he or she likes the opposite sex din pala. So both sexes, right? Or kung hindi man siya bisexual, what if pansexual or kung ano man yung mga sexualities, right? So baka mag-evolve or baka, so ayun. Pero once nasa ganong, hindi na siya pwede maging straight. Pag nasabi niya na ganon, the chances of him na maging straight is lesser na. Kasi, yun nga sabi ko, bata pa lang, alam na nila yan. Alam na nila, hindi lang nila alam kung anong tawag nun. Alam mo yun? And, in-explore pa lang nila kung ano ba yun. Tapos sa second question, kung i-expose mo ba, would you encourage your child to explore in the LGBT world? So ako personally, yun, I think nasabi ko naman along the way, right? Na pag bata pa, hindi pa masyado or hindi talaga ganun. Pero siguro meron lang parang FYI na, kasi di ba sa mga bata meron na yan silang parang somehow meron na silang, they are like aware or not aware, pero meron na yan bata pa lang. So a little bit of exposure is more of like telling them na it's okay to open up if ever may confusion ka sa sarili mo inside you, hindi mo alam kung ano to. Alright? So at least meron kang a little glimpse na okay, there is something there that I feel, for example, kung bata, I feel na parang mas interested ako, right? So doon nila mas na-explore, okay, may ganun exposure. Hindi baka isipin kasi nila abnormal sila, right? Na ay, mayroon ako na feel na ganito. Kasi pero wala sila nakikita kasing reference. So they will feel na abnormal sila, parang ganun. But if you will give them a little exposure lang, para lang masabi nila na meron konti doon na parang I feel like I'm interested, right? Tapos yun, doon yun sa kids days or years, and then pag preteen, you'll start na to inform them that it exists and ask them kung anong feeling nila about it. And then sa teenage din, ayun, be open about it. It's more of like, hindi naman in-encourage, pero kung ano man yung gusto nila, go. Parang ganun. Kung wari lalaki sila and then they want na, ay, mag-makeup ako, dad. Makeup artist. Pero lalaki ako. Then, okay, go. Kasi, well, being a makeup artist, hindi naman siya exclusive sa bading or sa girls, right? It's a job. It's a job for, it's a job and it's a talent. So, hindi siya limited. So, mga jobs, talents, wala namang gender specific yung mga yun. Like, hindi pwede na parang singing, right? Or dancing. Hindi naman dahil nagda-dance ka na parang babae is bading ka na. Well, for example, nagballet. Diba? Hindi naman ibig sabihin nagballet ang lalaki is bading na siya. Right? Because dancing is an art and there's no gender sa art. Similar like that. Even sa jobs, wala ding gender specific unless kung ang job mo is manganak, ganun. Na parang requirement talaga yung organs ng isang female or isang male, mga ganun. Pero kung wala namang requirements about it, parang wala yung gender. You cannot associate anything na hindi naman requirements ang organs, yung reproductive organs, sa work or sa gawin, right? So ayun, so slowly exposing lang, I not really totally not expose them, but slowly exposing them to the LGBT world din, para they're aware, not just LGBT, to the minorities, kung ano man yung existing minorities at that time. I have to let them some awareness kung ano yun, para they know kung ano yung nangyayari sa mundo, right? Hindi yung parang nasa bubble sila na yun lang yung naisip nila, right? Kasi yun nga, sabi ko earlier na yung mga bata is once, if they are really parang let's just say biologically, di pa naman kasi to scientifically proven, but I believe na merong mga tao na like in our world, hindi talaga male, female lang, like basic standard ang ginawa ng Diyos. It's more of multiple types. It just so happen lang na the reproductive organs are dalawa lang. Doon na, meron namang weird, pero more on combination. Pero, it's a different story. Pero, in general, dalawa lang yung ginawa ng Diyos, na male, female, na body. Pero it doesn't mean na they are wired to be male, right? Like, if they have male organs, it doesn't mean na yung utak nila is 100% male, like generic male. Right? We humans are unique. Right? Each one of us is unique. So, maaring, yun nga, nag-iiba-iba later on. So, yung iba, yung mga trans woman or trans man, they feel that they are not what the assigned organ sa kanila, because, biologically assigned sa kanila, because they have different mindset, wirings, ganyan. So, ayun. So, that's why kahit i-expose, kunwari kung ang anak mo talaga is straight, kahit i-expose mo yan sa mga kabadingan, wala lang yan. Like, okay, I don't see myself to be na part sa ganun, right? I don't see myself na ganun. So, kahit i-expose mo siya 100% sa kanyang time, hindi yun mangyayari, right? Though, mayroon naman mga kids na madali silang masway or madali silang ma-influence, or parang kumbaga masyado silang liquid or fluid, or they are open for possibilities. So that's why you are there to guide them. Their friends are may mga bakla ganyan, or may mga tomboy ganyan. And since your kid is probably open for possibilities, wala siyang specific na in other words, madali siyang ma-influence, ganyan. So, it's okay. You can still, hindi mo siya pipigilan na wag kang mag-friend doon sa mga ganito, ganyan, kasi ganito, ganyan, right? Baka maging bading ka, ganyan. So, hindi naman ganon. Pero you are aware na baka nga maging ganon, because, madali lang ma-influence yung anak mo. That's why you are there to guide to keep them, to keep the balance ba, na okay, mayroon siyang exposure sa mga bading na friends, and then expose mo din siya sa straight things, like for example, dapat magkipag-friend din siya sa mga straight people, parang gano'n, i-expose mo na, like maybe sa mga sports, usually, di ba, yun naman, parang gano'n, para he can balance or she can balance kung ano ba talaga yung gusto niya, kung saan siya later on, right? Na okay, when time comes na kailangan niya mag-decide sa sarili niya kung ano siya, kung straight ba siya or hindi, alam niya kung saan siya papanig, kasi meron siya exposure sa both worlds. Once they reach teenage years up to adult, slowly mawawala na yung authority mo. And you will become more of a guidance counselor. So ayun, yun lang. So that's it, pansit. If you are a parent and if you feel na mali ang sinasabi ko, feel free to comment down, kasi of course, buhay mo yun. Mahirap maging parent, I know. So, and telling this to you, probably like, wow, for sure sabihin mo na, wow, parang dali sabihin na. Pero mahirap tong gawin. Like, it's a lifelong journey. Wow, lifelong journey. Hindi naman siya lifelong. Siguro mga 20 years journey. 20 years sa journey sa buhay mo. Right? On top of your, kung kailan ka nag-anak. That's it, Pansit. So, thank you so much for listening and again, or hearing me out. So, if you feel free to comment. Kasi I know this is a sensitive and sensitive at medyo controversial. I hope hindi masyadong controversial na episode. I hope sensitive lang, and I hope you are also respectful sa comment section kasi I will keep it open. Yun nga. That's all. Thank you so much for listening and see you on the next one.